My fiancé Caleb, 30 a doctor, has been nothing but sweet to me, 26 ever since we met, and I've always been grateful to have met him. It was a Wednesday morning and I was rushing to work while he had been jogging by the roadside. It rained the previous day, so I splashed dirt and water on him as he raced by. He was so angry that I felt he would beat me up, with the way he was angry as I got out of the car to check on him. It was love at first sight for us, as instead of an altercation, we both ended up exchanging numbers and then went on dates. After 2 months of spending time together, we decided we wanted to get serious, and then he asked me to become his girlfriend. 2 years later, I got an engagement ring, and it was one of the best moments of my life. And then we moved in together. We were to get married in the next 3 months, and I was so excited. A bit of background, my team and I have just helped my telecommunications company win a contract worth millions, and my boss decided we celebrate it. My company has over 70% under 30 staff. So when a club was suggested for the celebration, there was no argument about it. I know I don't take alcohol well, and my fiancé was aware of this too, so he kept telling me to be careful and drink as little as I can. And if I felt the pressure was too much, I should call him to take me away from the party. 30 minutes into the party, I had drunk so little, but I was tired until one of my coworkers, Jerry, who had been asking to date me for over 6 months, walked over to me and asked that we dance. I disagreed immediately, but he asked me to grab a drink with him. I told him I would just drink a little, and he agreed. Before I knew it, we talked and laughed excitedly while drinking and discussing our challenges while working on the project. I somehow ended up in his apartment the next day. I was so ashamed of myself as I made the walk of shame out of his apartment while he sat there on the bed watching me leave. What do I tell my fiancé when I get home? How do I make him believe it was a mistake? Could I even tell him what I did update? My fiancé hadn't been home all night. Either he had a work emergency at the hospital and then left a message saying he wouldn't be back till the next day. I thought this was my chance. He returned in the evening and only asked how my night was and if I enjoyed the party. If only he had been around, he would have noticed I was running late and come for me at the party. Then this would not have happened, but he always goes off on emergencies. He might have suspected something happened with the way I just answered briefly. But if he did not show any signs that he did. He was tired and he went to bed. But the guilt of my actions kept eating me up. I had my chance. I could have turned down the drank little or walked away, but I didn't. That was when I got a message from Jerry with a video attached. He said he enjoyed how he had fun the previous night and can't wait to go again. When I checked the video, it showed us having sex. I was shocked as my phone fell out of my hand. My fiancé rushed out of the room to check if everything was okay, but I quickly picked up the phone from the floor and told him everything was okay. He returned to the room, and I sank to the bottom as I dreaded what Jerry could do with this video. I went to work the next Monday and confronted him about it. He acted like nothing happened and told me if I wanted to keep the secrets, I had to agree to be his constant booty call edit. This was the most disgusting thing I've done in my life, and I thought it would cost me so much. The one time I made a mistake, I was supposed to go for a fitting for my wedding gown that day, but I couldn't because I was disoriented. I couldn't stomach the idea of hooking up with Jerry again when I was supposed to get married to the man I love. Soon it just didn't feel right. Update 2 weeks after Jerry's request. I did not reply to or do anything about that. Caleb returned home and he demanded what I was hiding from him. I did not know exactly what he meant, but the only thing I could think of was that Jerry ratted on me. My heart was caught in my throat as I stood there not knowing what to say. He said he suspected I had been hiding something from him because I had been acting very weird lately, which I couldn't even deny, but I tried to convince him that I was okay, and that was when Jerry's call came in and I did not pick it up. He insisted that I pick up the ring, but I told him I didn't want to because it wasn't important. He angrily snatched the phone for me, and the first thing Jerry said was to call me. Baby edit? I wouldn't say I liked the look of betrayal on his face as he looked at me after ending the call with Jerry, who went on about the one-time mistake, as if he knew it was Caleb on the phone. I told him it was just a one-time thing, and it wasn't something I would have ever done again. I told him it wasn't my intention, but he wouldn't see reasons, honestly, although I feel guilty I did not see anything wrong, and going out for drinks just once, what happened after the glass was just unavoidable. I wonder why he wouldn't understand that he asked why I didn't tell him, and if it was because I didn't trust him. Jerry had told him about what happened while he was at work and sent him the video. He had hoped I would come out clean and tell him when asked, but I lied and didn't tell him the truth. He then said we were over and should call off the wedding. I could not even bring myself to beg him, as I cried bitterly. I love him so much and have ruined everything by not being truthful and hiding things from him. I had cheated on him and couldn't even tell him the shameful thing I did. I should have known. Donut wouldn't end well. And now I've lost him forever. First and foremost, own up to your actions. You should have been honest with your fiancé from the start. Instead of hiding the truth, your lies only made things worse. Secondly, understand that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's hard to rebuild. It's clear that your fiancé is hurt and upset, but he has every right to be if he's decided to call off the wedding and end the relationship. Respect his decision. It might be painful, but it's the consequence of your actions. Lastly, use this experience as a lesson. Learn from your mistakes and commit to being a better person in the future. Cheating is never the answer to relationship issues. If you enter into another relationship, remember the importance of honesty, trust, and communication. It's time to let your ex-fiancé move on with his life, just as you need to reflect on your actions and work on self-improvements. Story 2, my wife of 5 years had an affair with a coworker last year she was already pregnant with. With my child at the time, I'm sure the baby's mine, because I discovered all of their chat logs and pieced together a timeline. We also have a 2-year-old son. I found their conversations by accident, which started off fairly innocent, flirtatious, but turned raunchy. Pretty quickly, they started meeting at and outside of work for coffee and sex respectively. She went away for several business trips, leaving me and our kid alone at home, pretending all the while like nothing was going on. I've told her many times during our relationship, even last year, you can get away with pretty much anything with me, except cheating. It's a deal breaker for me, always has been, and I thought it always would be. But we have one kid and another on the way. We have a house, we have a life, and that gives my heart pause. But she knew what she was getting into. She knew what would happen if I found out she knew it. Every time we told him how much she was looking forward to next time, while she was scheming to get away, while I texted her how her meetings were going while she was in a hotel room with him. She says she's sorry, far as I can tell, she broke it off. He's almost 20 years her senior, a superior at her work, different departments, and his wife doesn't know we started therapy 2 days after. I found out at my insistence. We've had bad sessions and good ones, terrible weeks and weeks where I remembered the woman I loved, but now she's just not that woman to me anymore. Every video game I bought without telling her, I had to feel for months during arguments. Every cigarette I smoked was one I would regret for weeks. And because she's already demanded absolute honesty for me, I automatically assumed that is what she was. So honesty was a huge part of the idea I've always had of her, and this idea is now shaken to its core. I believe she won't do it again, and that she is truly remorseful. But every time I hear her phone ring, I feel it every time we're watching TV and cheating, or even just sex comes up. I feel it. I don't picture her and I, or me with someone else. I picture her in him, and I think that's because I read every word they ever exchanged on chat. That being pregnant was perfect because they wouldn't need protection, how she should shave, what positions they should try once her belly gets bigger, how she felt something other than lust, and it's tearing me apart. I can never look at her the same again, but I cannot be this guy, a man that walks out on a 30-week pregnant wife and a son. How could I live with myself? But then how can I cope if I stay? I don't think I love her anymore, or if I do, it's just not the same. I find my eyes straying when she's not around and glazing over when she is. My heart tells me the love is gone, but is that all there is? Is it worth staying behind after all that's happened? What the hell do I do? Any advice is appreciated. Update first. I decided to wait until the baby's born to cut my losses. My wife is suffering from depression due to circumstances at work, her family at home in Poland, a pregnancy that turned out to be poorly timed, or a poorly timed affair depending on your views, and a bad decision between us. But I think I'm going to come out and say, I want a divorce this weekend. We've discussed the possibility in the past, and she would want me out of our house as soon as possible. She would also not involve me in the birth of our second child. This hurts, but my mind is made up at this point. I cannot spend the rest of my life with her, and it's better to come out and say it now than to wait in summary. It's clear that both your emotions and rationality align in this situation. If love is no longer present and your life is negatively impacted, it might be best to part ways. You don't have to abandon your child and the one on the way, but you should consider separating from her. Although it's painful, splitting up seems like the most reasonable choice to avoid further harm to both of you and potentially your children. I'm sorry that you're going through this, but it's important to take action rather than dwell on these thoughts, as it can be detrimental to your well-being. We're here to support you in any way we can. Best of luck.